Hey guys, welcome back. Sorry if this is a repeat video. I'm just super excited. I just had a whole bunch of things come in at once, technically. We'll get over that. Lots of stories, lots of things with the PSA, lots of things with BGS. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. The Pokemon market feels more interesting than ever, to be honest. That being said, I am sorry if this video is a repeat. I can't remember if I did this video. So a while back, I sent 4 cards to BGS. They were my first BGS submissions. They weren't my first BGS cards. I've had a BGS card here and there that I've bought, but none that I've sent in myself to get grading. Some notes, I will say BGS by far is my favorite slab. I've held tags, I've held PSAs, I've held CGCs, and I've held BGS slabs. And I've held some other off-market slabs that I can't remember the names of, a few here and there that are not the big 3 or 4, whatever you want to label them as. BGS by far is my favorite shaped slab, my favorite weighted slab, my favorite label. There is no other slab that compares. Arguably, yes, they're very easy to open, but in my opinion, all slabs are easy to open. I always think that's a silly argument. That being said, I sent in 4 cards, and all 4, of course, I sent in expected to at least BGS 10, and even some I did expect to black label. That being said, further ado, we can move on to what those cards were. Now, anyone who knows anything about BGS, you can already tell that my cards did not black label because you can see there is gold labels. So, surprise, surprise, none of them black labeled. And I said 4 cards, there's only 3 here. I will get to that in a second. And also information here that's helpful to anyone who needs to know how grading works depending on the grader. So this card, by the way, fantastic card. This is a movie commemoration Arceus card. They're kind of easy to find, kind of not. In my opinion, absolute pristine condition. This is one of the cards that I expected to black label. One of the things about BGS that's amazing is, of course, and everyone does this now besides PSA, but of course, you're told what you're getting, like why you're getting it. So, edges 9.5, corners 9.5. I feel as though, I think that qualifies for at least the standard 10. Maybe you have to have 10 and 3 of the 4. I know you have to have 10 and all 4 for the black label. I don't know how this could have at least qualified for the standard 10, but whatever. But corners 9.5, edges 9.5. To be honest, I'm not seeing it. I think this card is absolutely pristine. There's no whitening. Centering is superb. I'm not really sure what they're getting at. Will I regrade this card? I'm not certain. If I'm going to regrade it, at this point, it will either be tag or CGC. I'm not a big fan of resending into graders once they've already graded it. I'd probably still break it open no matter what. I'm not a big fan of sending stuff in that already has kind of a biased grade to it once someone goes to regrade something. It's a nice idea in terms of reslabbing. However, I do think companies definitely absolutely see what it previously got and they keep that in mind. So I am absolutely for breaking things out of their slab. one of the things, now don't quote me on this, I haven't seen it in any other slab yet, but one of the things that I think really stands out with BGS, besides, of course, the whole, they've got their logo separate from the slab, from the label. The slab's just a nice solid square. It's a nice acrylic to it. But also, the cards are individually sealed in a thin plastic sleeve within the slab. They don't shake around. There's no pressure on them. Just great idea overall, and I really appreciate that. I have had too many slabs outside of BGS. I've got PSA 9s that the card literally rattles inside the case. That is damaging the card based on how much movement it receives. So BGS, in my opinion, especially if it's personal collection, if something is PC, I truly love, BGS it, and of course hope for the black label. But yeah, we were expecting a minimum of a 10, possible black label, received a 9.5, and that leads to some other things, which now also, these grades were before PSA just took ownership of BGS. I think, based on what I sent in, BGS gives you a grade based on what you pay, if the card is receivable to it. This is kind of hard to explain to anyone who's not in the game. I believe I paid about 40-ish bucks per grade with BGS. It was a little pricey, but that was about for what would be a $400 value card. This as a 9.5 isn't really worth that much. As a 10, just a standard 10, I think it's probably worth around the $400 mark. As a black label, it's not known what it would be worth. I believe it would be a pop 1 of 1 as a black label. And if you guys don't know, black labels go for like phenomenally more than any other grade. Next up, again, I strongly, definitely thought this should at least 10. Again, this one was surprising. They gave me just a 9 for centering. Again, I've never been great at centering, in my opinion, eyeballing it. I do also use a centering tool I bought. I don't think the centering really is that far off. Again, this was a card I expected to at least 10. Actually, I don't think I expected this one to black label. I expected this one just to get a BGS 10. And again, I think it's because I didn't pay enough. I'm being legitimate. You're looking at these cards. These are my only BGS submissions. And BGS is supposed to be tough, but these are really clean cards, as you can see. If you want me to do redo a video and have me zoom in on spots that you think you can see to where I'm wrong, let me know. And sadly, I'm just not going to bother resubmitting these to BGS. I think the fee is too much to be playing with. I think going forward with BGS, I'll just send in super expensive cards and pay just for a super expensive grading fee for those cards that would benefit even just from a BGS. I do think that is a bit of a pain though, and a bit annoying. There is a major agreement from the card community that a 9.5 on a BGS is a PSA 10, and if it's a PSA 10, it's pretty much a 10 anywhere else, possibly even a CGC black label. If you want to call the CGC pristine a black label, which I guess I will, but we'll just definitely specify it as a CGC black label. I don't know if a BGS 9.5 is a tag 10 though. That's questionable. I haven't sent anything to tag yet. I haven't sent anything to CGC. I am going to send some stuff to those two graders pretty soon. I have my reasons, and I know which cards I'm sending to whom. And we'll go over that in some other videos as to why. Now, 3 of the 4 cards. The third card, which again, this card I was pretty sure would black label, and at a minimum, BGS 10, beautiful card. Japanese Dark Alakazam, again, 9.5 on centering, 9.5 on surface. I'm not really certain. You have to understand, and I'll show you, that dent you're seeing isn't the card, that's just the plastic wrap, which I could take off, but as far as I'm aware, there is absolutely no surface damage to this card. Really cool card. I don't think the original Team Rocket series gets enough credit. I prefer it over base, I prefer it over jungle, I prefer it over fossil. This is a really cool set. The idea of dark Pokemon, and these were the cards that came out first that had dark Pokemon in the name, Dark Alakazam, was just, 1997 Rocket Gang. I didn't realize that's what the label said. I figured it would just be Team Rocket, but Rocket Gang makes it seem that much cooler. Maybe I won't regrade this one at all. And this might just stay PC. Definitely would be nice if it was a 10. But we can argue BGS might have extreme grading standards, and that's partially true, and that's partially the idea. Okay, maybe I see centering a little bit. It might be slightly more top heavy than bottom heavy. Left and right seems pretty equal though. I still think it should have 10 within a standard. I'm not seeing this surface damage that they're talking about though. And I'm just going to cut it short. I'll go ahead and lay these out just for viewing pleasure. But the fourth card was a Blastoise Piplup Cosmic Full Art, Alternate Art. And it received a BGS 9. And that card, I also was again expecting a BGS 10 minimum. It didn't even 9.5. It 9ing though is what confirmed with BGS you get what you pay for. Because at a 9, BGS 9, the card was worth about $400 at the time. And I paid $40, which is for essentially a card that's insured at around $400, $500. A BGS 9.5 put it at about $900 to $1,000. A BGS 10 would put it at about $2 back then. And a BGS 10 would have put it at about $25,000. I did go ahead and crack that card from the case, and I sent it into PSA, which it received a PSA 10. And right now, on February, what's today, 19th? Might be the 20th, I think it's February 19th, 2026. That card goes somewhere between 1.4 and 1.7 grand. Now, I also would like to go ahead and let you know that I also paid a huge PSA fee to also move over some bias. One, I cracked it and sent it in raw, so it didn't show up as a BGS 9 to PSA, and I paid a $175 grading fee, to which the card came back a PSA 10. I do think that had something to do with it. I do hope you enjoyed these cards, this video, this information, which is what I try and put out. These cards should have been on my 100+ card rating list. I, however, am not capable of finding them on my list. I don't quite know what happened, so I don't know what my original guesses were, at least on paper, but I do specifically remember stating that I did figure these cards were PSA 10s at a minimum, and knowing that BGS is a higher standard, I figured they were at least also BGS 10s, even possibility of BGS black labels, which is why I sent them in. However, as you can see, I got BGS 9.5s. Will I regrade them? Possibly. who will I regrade them with? You know what? And no, you can't just pick anybody. I think I'm going to leave it up to you guys, the viewers. If you want me to regrade these cards with CGC, go ahead and put CGC in the comments. If you want me to regrade these cards with tag, put tag in the comments. I honestly would prefer tag at the moment to see if they can tell me like exactly what the surface damage is or the corners is. And if you really want me to, I really don't want to send these to PSA, but if you, the viewers, want me to send these cards to PSA, I'll send them to PSA. I do want to note though, I will not send them in for a regrade slab. I will have to crack them open, which would suck because, again, I really prefer the BGS slab over any of the slabs. But you know what? Put your vote in the comments whether you want me to resend these to CGC, PSA, tag, or leave them as is. Let me know.